This video is about how to fade sound. So you're moving, a block falls down from the top, comes down and hits the ground, and it makes a sound. Then when you get to a certain point in the game, the block's going to stop and the sound's going to stop. Then when you move to the left again, the block's going to move and make the sound again. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Sounds, blocks hitting the ground and making that noise. And then it stops. See how the block stops? It doesn't make the noise because you passed a line that's invisible that makes the box stop. Then when you pass another line, it's gonna start again. Stopped. Alright, so this is great if you don't want to hear the sound throughout the whole level of the game. You could have whatever making the noise, but this is a perfect example of having something fall from the top, hit the ground, the bottom, make a noise. So in most cases, like once you pass that part in the game, you don't want the sound to keep hitting, making the noise throughout the room. It would be kind of annoying and aggravating. So you want it to stop once you get past the point of where you want to get past. You want the sound to stop once you accomplish and getting past that point. But if you do go back, it's going to start up again. Or if you don't want to, you don't have to have it start up again. You could have it stop completely, but you could have it start again like I just showed you. So let me show you what I did here. Alright, so you have your character, then you have these two lines. This blue line will stop the block from keep coming down, and it will just stop. And then once you hit this, hold on, I'm sorry, the red line. Once you hit the red line, then the block stops. Once you hit the blue line again, it starts again. So once you hit the red line, it stops, and then when you hit the blue, it goes again. And those two lines are invisible, so that way you don't see it in the game. Turn off the visibility. Alright, and then this ground here, this green grass, there's actually two of these blocks that I created. See, there's two of them. And I just pretty much stretched them out. So it was a small block and I just stretched it. Because you can do that in Game Maker Studios. You can stretch your images out to a certain length if you want. That will also help on your file size. So, okay, so we have this red line here. Let me show you. I said stop all. So there's nothing in there. It's just going to be not visible. Same thing with the start all. It's going to be not visible in the room when you start it. Then you have the player, and the player, once he hits the red line, it's going to do a deactivate. So you're going to instance deactivate object, which is the object first grass. So what that means is that when this box hits the first grass, it's going to basically jump back to the original position, jump to start self. Then it's going to switch the box to a placeholder, because originally when you start out the game, there's a placeholder for the box that's going to come down and hit the ground, and that's always going to be there. So that placeholder is right here. So this is a placeholder. So after so many seconds, the placeholder, which is not visible, and I have a alarm setting here. Number of steps 10 milliseconds. And alarm 0 is going to kick in, and it's going to same thing. Number of steps 10 milliseconds. Alarm 0 happens. It's going to switch the placeholder to the object block, the box. So the object box is the brown box that comes down and hits the ground and makes a sound. And then once it comes down and hits the grass, it's going to switch and jump back to the placeholder, and after 10 milliseconds it's going to switch back to the object box. It's going to come down, it's going to hit the grass, it's going to make that sound, and then it's going to switch, it's going to do the jump, do the jump thing here, jump to start, and it's going to do the switch from placeholder to object box. So that's what's happening here. Perform event, yes. And that's going to continue to happen until you hit the red line. And when you hit that red line, it's going to deactivate the object grass. And that means once the object, once you hit that red line, it's going to deactivate the first grass. So that means that the first grass is this right here, this green box here, which I stretched out. See this first grass, that makes the sound happen. So once that object box hits that first grass, it's going to make that sound. But if it's deactivated, it's not going to make that sound anymore, because it basically deactivates this first grass, and this is deactivated means it pretty much disappears, and basically this green grass is remaining, because you need 2 in there for this to work. Otherwise you're going to be, and the background's going to be completely black. You don't have any grass, and that doesn't make sense. So it's going to deactivate this grass here, but this grass will be shown, so you're not going to see any fluctuation when deactivating it, because it's going to look like it hasn't been deactivated, but it has. And it's going to basically once that box hits the ground on the second grass, it's going to stop. So the second grass means that once that box comes straight down and hits the second grass, it's going to be moved fixed to center, speed is 0, so it's going to be stopped. The box is going to be completely stopped. It's not going to move or nothing until you hit that blue line, and it's going to reactivate. It's going to reactivate the first grass again. Okay, it's going to reactivate the first grass, and then when that happens, the object box is going to say, okay, the first grass is activated again. What do? We're going to jump back to the first start, and then change back to placeholder, and then after 10 milliseconds, it's going to go back down again. So that's what happens here. So once you cross that red line, it's going to deactivate this first grass here, and the second grass is going to be there in its place. And then once that box comes down, it's going to stop on that second grass and not move until you cross this blue line again, and then the box that's just stopped there is going to be reactivated, and it's going to be jumped back to position again, and then it's going to switch back to placeholder, and then it's going to fall back down onto the first grass again and make that sound, and then go back up again. So hope that makes sense there. So when you hit that blue square, it's going to reactivate the first grass, and then the box is going to do its thing where it's going to jump back to the position it was originally, which was where the placeholder's at up top. It's going to change that box to the placeholder, and then after 10 milliseconds, it's going to switch the placeholder back to the object box, and it's going to fall back down to the grass again, and then make the sound again and go back up. So that's what's going to happen here. And you have the left and right keys going on here, so the character can move right and left 20 speeds. Talked about that already in the past. Depth to -10 for the player. The second grass, I have that set up to depth at 1, and the first grass is set to 0. So like I said, the second grass is in the back, so it's not going to interfere when the object box comes down. And like I said, it's going to make that sound when it hits the first grass. But then when you deactivate it, it's going to deactivate the first grass, and the second grass will be remaining. And like I said, when that happens, the object box is stating that once it hits the second grass, or the second grass is in place of the first grass, it's stating that the object box is going to not move at all, and the speed is going to be a 0. Then when you reactivate when you cross that blue line, it's going to reactivate the first grass, and it's going to make the object box jump back to start position, and is going to change the object box back to the placeholder. Then after 10 milliseconds, it's going to switch the placeholder back to the object box, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And you need that placeholder in here, so that pretty much tells where the box is going to come, or where it's going to start at again and come back down and hit the grass. If you didn't have the placeholder in there, it wouldn't work correctly. If you just had this jump to start position in there, it wouldn't work. It probably would only work one time. Let me see what happens when I do this. I'm going to take out the placeholder and see what happens. Alright, and then I'm going to take out the object placeholder. I just want to see what happens here. I don't put that in. See what happens. It doesn't show. It doesn't come back. So it originally works if you. So like I said, you put that object box in there, it will repeat once it hits that first grass and jump back up to where it was originally. But then the problem happens is when you go back to the blue line. Let's see, when you hit that blue line, it activates the first grass again, but for some reason it does not. I don't know, for some reason it disappears. I don't know why it disappears. Let me put other, see what happens. Let me try other. Yeah, that don't work either. So you need that placeholder in there. For some reason, the placeholder needs to be in there so that way it will repeat, and then when you cross the blue line again, then it will jump back in position, and then the placeholder after 10 milliseconds will switch back to the box, and then it will go back down and hit the grass, make the sound, go back up, make the sound again, until you cross that red line, and then it'll stop it on the grass because it deactivates it. You don't want to have a destroy in there, because if you have a destroy in there, if you use this destroy instance instead of the deactivate, then the land's going to be destroyed, and it's not going to come back. So you have to have the deactivate and reactivate in there for it to work right. Alright, hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching.